Our study today is coming from the beloved Great Divine Director, volume 29, number 20. And it involves teaching from the mystery school. And Divine Director starts off by saying, there is a star shining, the single star of your Christ reality. So once I started reading and trying to digest what the Divine Master, the Great Divine Director, was giving us, he shared with me, as we look in Genesis chapter 1, verse 20, of the light, of how God created the light in the heaven. The sun, the lesser light, and the greater light. The greater light is the light of the sun. The lesser light was the moon, and also the stars for governing the evening. So his love is for the governing of our being. And that star that is shining, that he's speaking of, is that star that is within our hearts. That Holy Christ flame that is stored within your heart. In Matthew chapter 5, it asks us to let our light shine before men, that men might see our good works and glorify the Father. Because not only was there stars that was implemented at the beginning of time that God bestowed there, but it also tells us, and if we read in Psalms 147, it tells us that according to, let me share that with you. And it says, Psalms 147 says that he counts the number of stars and he called them all by names. So just kind of knowing that you have a star, we all have stars that is our representation. So you go back and you look also at the beginning. When Jesus was born, there was a star that told where he was. So out of that star that was guiding him, that was the light, and they call it the Eastern Star. So as that star represented the Christ where he was, that was what gave the wise men the knowledge of where to be able to find him. So I'm told that basically in our teaching that we have is that the three wise men, Melchior, who brought Jesus gold for his kingdom, was known as El Moria. Belshazzar brought him frankincense, and that was for his divinity. That was Cthulhu. And Caspar brought him myrrh for his suffering that was going to be endured on the cross. So now, as we know, and we can go into, if you go into Revelation, I'm not going to take you all the way there now, but if you go into Revelation and read chapter 1, I think it's like verse 20, you will find all of this, that Jesus, the star that was named for him, as far as the representation of those stars. And as it says, God was able to count the number of stars, and he called them by name. So by knowing that everyone, there's a star. I mean, have you gone out and looked up in the heavens, when you're in a dark area? If you go out and look in the Milky Way stars, you would see all of these glowing stars, millions upon millions of stars that represent what is going on. I mean, if you think as far as the casual body, now the casual body, so I'm told, and the reading of it, the casual body is one of the three bodies that contain each individual soul. The other being is the physical body and the astral body. But the casual body is the body that transport the essence of the individual from one life to the next generation. So there, once again, we're right back to where, as we were speaking earlier, There is a star shining, beloved, the single star of your Christ reality. So in other words, you have to recognize that you are the star that's within, that the Holy Christ presence is guiding you and is directing you as you move forward each and every day. You know, you go and you look out in, if you go to California, what's the first thing that everybody wants to do? They want to go and they go to the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But guess what? You have your own. So you have to be ready for that. And so that's what the masters are telling us and preparing us for, is that we can be ready and prepared in order at the end of this lifetime that we have our star. So as we move forward, I would like to kind of get into sharing this with you. I mean, it's a great teaching. So I would like to share with you. And our beloved great divine director goes in and he says, I am in the blue sphere of my casual body of light, as I am known as the great divine director, an office accorded me by the Almighty One. In other words, God has given him this office. This is the office that he holds in order to be able to work with us and guide us as to where we are going. And he goes on and say, I am a part of the radiant light rays descending as the will of God, as divine direction for implementation of the will descending from each one's star of cosmic Christ. So he's there for the guidance of each and every one of us from our star of the cosmic Christ. So that means that we're going to have to stay on target with what it is that we're doing. The star of the casual body burns brightly tonight in the darkness of cosmos and the voids throughout all matter spheres. The great divine director tells us that it is the causal body of the Son of God that illumines the world. Think of the blackest night and know when your causal body does appear, a whole town or state or planet will be illuminated. As the Son of God body illuminates the world, it is our responsibility to replicate his work. Our divine director goes on, he questions us and he asks, is this not a joy to know that you, in and as God, can therefore bestow upon every part of life coming to the dawning and yearning? In other words, the opening and the realization of your selfhood, some morsel of identification with the infinite. So in other words, we will be recognized along with the light. But there again, we have to be able to be ready in order at the end of this life that our star shine as brightly as the Christ. And how great is that to know that we have something in common with the masters, our beloved master Jesus and the great divine director. We are told that God gave us the sun to light the day and the moon to light the nights and the stars also. And as we read already in Psalms 147, that God knew the number of stars and he called them by name. And we have the assignment of being all that we can be. Thus the physical star or position, as you understand, as which we have already just gone through that and talked about the idea that these stars that are cast out into the heaven, as they was representing where God was, where Jesus was, where he was born, the representation also represent where you are. I mean, this is the reason that when I started reading on this teaching, and it was teaching from the mystery school, there's a lot of mystery that's going on that we don't even realize what it is that we're looking at until we start getting into it. Thus, the physical stars are positioned, and as you understand them, in other words, as we understand them, as the outer manifestation of the great causal body of light of cosmic being. A reminder to evolving souls that a point of revelation with the divine one does truly exist. And that's because there is a co-measurement, in other words, equal, as an awareness within the soul of the point of life. There is an inner recognition of a goal, a path, even a universal brotherhood. For the manifold stars sings of a unity of purpose and design. As we read in Psalms 147, it states that, as we read, the Father knows the name of each star, and he can call those. The mysteries are the stars which we saw in the right hand in the 7 candlesticks. The 7 stars of the candlesticks in the 7 churches, and the 7 candlesticks which they saw are the 7 churches. And as we know in Revelation that the 7 stars are the representative of angels of the 7 churches. So we can find that in Revelation. That the 7 stars are the representative angels of the church, and we can look back and understand why the star represented where Jesus was when he was born. Therefore, beloved, without organized religion, but solely upon the principle of the love fire of the divine spark within, the evolving souls may begin to equate with Elohim's. And the sense of distance does portray to the soul that there is a path in overcoming and a quest for the mastery of time and space, and from that must be pursued in order for the soul to reach that star. In the sharing of our beloved divine director says that without organized religion, in other words, if you're not willing to follow in the path and the teaching that you're given, you're not going to be able to get to that road, because even with our beloved Lonello, they laid out some areas in groundwork. Mother laid out some groundwork. Pastor is going ahead of us and laying out groundwork so that we are able to follow along in what's going on, because that is the reason that he has and still is anointing brothers and sisters in order to raise them up, that you want to be able to see your star at the end of the day, and your understanding and wisdom should grow from there. Now some have developed a science to the place where the journey to the stars physically has become possible. But beloved, they are getting from point A to point B of the physical universe. Thus, after long evolution in the science of matter, one's desire to part the veil, to scratch through the canopy of heaven, and to see what is on the other side of the roof of the sky, and the stars itself. Indeed, many are curious to see the other side of the moon. Yes, we are. That's one of the things that we're looking at, is that we want to see what's on the other side. But, we're only going on the physical note of it. The main part that we should be looking at is the spiritual side of it. The spiritual side and the growth of it as to where it is that we want to be after this lifetime. Just getting to the moon and back, that was how they came up with the moon boots. We remember those. Everybody walking around with moon boots on. But that was all physical. It wasn't spiritual at all. Therefore, beloved, there's an inherent in the soul who has come from a spirit cosmos, far beyond all this magnitude, the desire to return to the spiritual sun and a being. So that's what we're looking forward to, is to return as a spiritual being, not on the physical side of being able to go to the moon and back. But we're looking at being able to go spiritually where it is that we need to go. If we master everything and get all of our percentage of everything mastered out, as Pastor have always shared with us, I think 51% will get us for our transition, in order to be able to get to where we need to be. Tasting the ultimate love in the world and life, one only knows that one has not even begun to taste of the love that is beyond. That is the source of the cup which one drinks in joy, in the fragile moment of love's embrace, that one would keep for eternity. But that one can only keep for eternity if one will mount the spiral of love and pass through the barriers into a space undefined, infinite and yet without time. Beloved one, the known is a comfort, but the unknown becomes a source of fear, from which men may cringe and say, I will take my way up in life. Let me postpone to another day this probing, this voyage of discovery into the infinite mind of God. And thus, in the long history of this planet, a certain superstition, a social custom, that which was accepted as norm of activity, etc., has almost been a means of insulating souls and humanity and civilizations against going beyond the wall that is built around the town to protect it from invading marauders or enemies. Somehow, had God not defined the bounds of man habitation, man himself should have drawn a limited circle about himself to contain his fear, to keep them under control so as to not to have to think about his responsibility and his own beingness in the vast beyond that seemed cold on a winter's night. Thus he returns to the fire of the hearth and may be at peace and abide there for many centuries until he is confronted, as we are today, with condition upon earth which truly troubles the heart of little children. I mean, if we look at what's going on in the world today, you know, it's kind of troubling for, like you say, our little children. As each and every one comes along, I mean, you know, we have people that are doing some of the most ungodly thing that you would think of. I mean, you're riding along in your car with your little 7-year-old child, or any child, but in particular, this 7-year-old child, and someone drives by and decide, well, you know, this is what I want to do to change your life forever. And they shoot your child. I mean, this is something that, you know, you don't want to live through and you don't want to be a part of. So we want to be able to raise up the children of the light in order for the light to be able to fill them so that they are able to understand what it is and why we come here every Sunday, or we get up every morning in the early hours and make our calls and our prayers before we retire at night, that we become one with God as we stand or kneel or whatever position that you're thinking. Even if you decide to go to bed and make your calls, that is still something that you could do, but we need to do. There is in fact nowhere to hide, no cave so removed that it cannot be touched by pollution or nuclear war or astral hordes of false hierarchy who prey upon the light barriers. Where shall we go, Lord? Thou hast the word of eternal life. And then the souls begin to say to herself, nowhere may I go on earth or in the vast physical cosmos. Nowhere may I go and be any closer in physicality to the infinite heart of love. Where I am is the all, and when I am the all, I am neither in heaven, nor in earth, nor in China, or New York. For I am in the holies of holies of God, where I am. Because when we become that one and be in the light of the Christ, we are there and we are safe. And thus the soul may think to herself, this planet Earth, with all of her problems, I might just as well perch here as anywhere. For the testing of souls would be the same, and my essence of mastery would be no better, no less, if I were suddenly removed with lightning speed to another planet across space. And he goes on and says, and so it begins to dawn, the inner cosmos, the inner nucleus that has to do with the secret chamber of the heart, and the cosmic interval that seems so tiny as physical dimension, but is as vast as the microcosm. Meditate upon your heart. See there the image of the Buddha in meditation, always upon thy soul. Thus in all her musing and contemplated voyages, and all decision as to what to do here and there, the soul returned to the senses. The whole vast matter cosmos is a cage, confining defining life, yet in limitation. I am now ready as the bluebird of happiness to fly from this cage. I have no fear. I am the knower and the known. That which is beyond, that is the cause of all that I have become here below, must truly be ready to receive me. For if indeed this physical cosmos is a reflection, a negative manifestation of the divine polarity, then I should only find more real or more solid or more permanent peace. In other words, if we could move from this spot, because we don't want whatever above to be whatever it is below, because we know what is here. And he says, how can I fly beyond the roof of the sky? I must learn then complete adjustment of the molecule of light of my own mind. I must understand that to pass through this nexus, I must, of course, first find the pinprick in all of cosmos somewhere. There must be a pinprick that I can pass through, so I will find it, and I will travel now the circle of the figure eight. I will pass over that in mind and heart and meditate upon the acceleration of the sacred fire. In other words, this pinprick is this hole in the cosmos that we can move forward and find that light of the Christ that's within our hearts. As we meditate, as we sit in meditation and become one, we can break the barrier through as far as the pinprick of the whole and be able to be one with God. I will not only raise the light of the mother within, says our divine director, I will dance in the fountain of her light. I will become that light. I will swirl within it until I can absorb fully the intensity of the light. For I know that somewhere this rising fountain passes from the negative polarity of matter to the spirit plus polarity that gave that manifestation. Thus, each day I will be the mother athlete. In other words, we have to train. We're going to have to be ready to do the work. I will be the runner. I will learn to absorb more light. I will breathe deeply and take in the oxygen that is the carrier of light. And he says that I will meditate upon the word. I will know the science and the sound of mantra. I will let my gaze rest upon the yantra. In other words, an object used to aid in meditation for the transic worship. And as we look at the worship of the Buddha, we have this sound that he has. The Om is the representative of the body soul. Mani is the jewel. Padma, the lotus flame. Hum, spiritual of enlightenment. Now, if you would close your eyes for a second, a moment, and meditate with me, and we will do this meditation of Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Hum. As we feel that light rising up within our being, and once again, the great divine director says, "Oh, I am that jewel in the heart of the lotus. How magnificent it is indeed, the elusive crystal of spirit. I am that I am. I will follow the sound and the call of the central sun. I will listen now in the inner ear. I will cut off the senses from all the turbulence of outer noisome pestilence. I will begin to attune with the movement of my heart, and beyond is beating, and find the heart of the bird and the heart of angels, the heart of Elohims. I will gaze upon the sun of Helios and Vesta with my inner eye, and I will then create a spiral, an undulation, and I will not go up and down the sin wave, but I shall cut straight through as an arrow. In my meditation, I will pass through the central sun of this system of world and back again in elliptical orbit. I can do this, for I am the one. I may know all the joys of this life placed here for my commeasurement with love for your equal use, but I may simultaneously, without fear, build rings upon rings of my casual body here below as is above. I can enter the secret raised by the call to the mighty cosmos. I am only conditioned to mortality. It has been my reality. I am standing now in the center of the sun, and even as I stand upon the altar and before the altar of the Holy Grail, lo, I am here and I am there. I am mother, I am child, I am father, I am son, held forever in the embrace of the Holy Spirit, cloven tongues of fire. Now I climb the sunbeam back to the heart of the blue sphere. I hear in the rays of light the sound of the great divine director. I commiserate with the vibration of the will of God. And now I see how that will translate through mother as a sure-footed divine direction. I may leap into the high mountain with those sheep and goats who knew the way. I am so sure that my steps is the steps of God, for I am in the heart of the great divine director. So, in our studies, we also find out that there was this young man that when he was walking and talking with God, he was asking God at the time that in their walks, he looked back and there was 2 footsteps. And when he looked back again, there was 1 set of footprints. So he asked him, what happened? Why did he leave him in a time of trouble? And God told him, well, I didn't leave you in a time of trouble. So at the time when you saw the 2 sets of footprints, that was when we was, walking together. But when you look back and you saw the 1 set of tracks, that was when I was carrying you because you was having trouble. So in our lives, there's times when we look back and we only see the 1 set of footprints. So just know that God hasn't left us. He's carrying us. And we have to think of how many times have we prayed to God for him to order our steps. In other words, for us, as for our guidance. And as we ask God to lead us, to guide us every day, send us his anointing. Father, I pray, order my steps in your word, O God. Humbly I ask thee, teach me your will. Thus I know no confinement. I gladly accept this opportunity, O God. To myself, roll up as a scroll the record of every life that has ever been lived in mortality, subhuman, sinfully unaware, asleep. All these records can no longer be a part of myself, for I am who I am, says the divine director. I am the living presence of love where I am. I have tapped the eternal fount. I have sailed to Venus. But, oh beloved, when the worlds are known above and below, the world becomes one where you are. Matter is not bereft of spirit. Spirit is not bereft of matter. Entering the eye of the point of the pinprick, then you are in the center of the Tai Chi. In the sound of the word accelerating, the great sun disk begins to spin. And the spinning of the Tai Chi is the sign that I and my father, I and my mother are one. The oneness is the envelope in which I dwell, a pressed flower of immortal. I can be anywhere in God, for I have come to the nucleus of his will. That is the blue fire sun of divine direction. O beloved great divine director, now I know thee as thou art, for I have also pressed by the way the soul mounting to the blue starry body that I have seen in heaven. O great divine director, come now, be all of me, as I am all of thee. Thus, beloved, you have traced with me as I have traced the path of Achila, moving from the will of God to its divine direction. Truly the mother releases, as she see the Shakti, that which is the blue spear of my attunement. Thus the feminine part of myself, which may also see portrayed somewhat in this facsimile, is that which ties you and the keys to your footstep on earth in the very concrete step-by-step manner. When you pray for the will of God and you feel saturated by it, you may still say, but I do not know which way to go. I am in love with the will of God. I feel the fiery blueprint and the ruby crystal. I am part of that eternal light. Lo, I am that I am. But now, which way may I turn? Are my choices being made based on limitation, centuries, millennial, or trivial superstition? Fear, then, of the outer things, or perhaps even phobia. So as we ask, when we pray for the will of God to be made known to us, let that light of the Christ illuminate within our being. As we stand, we don't want to do anything in fear or phobia, but we want to know that God is with us and making that call each and every day.